Welcome to day 2 of geometry. Today we're going to focus on parallel and perpendicular lines. If you want definitions for these, you can find them in your book or you can look online. Okay, I will say the definitions, but mainly I'm going to focus on the pictures in this video. So the first one, parallel lines. Parallel lines are two or more lines that never intersect. So if we continue these lines in both directions, they're just going to run right beside each other. Think about railroad tracks in this case. All right, it can be 3 lines. If we extend these, all 3 of these lines, they're never going to intersect. A notation that you're going to see that tells us that these are parallel, we use these triangles and we fill them in. Okay, that shows that each of these lines is parallel to the other lines. All right, moving on to perpendicular. Perpendicular means there's 2 lines, they intersect, and when they do intersect, they form a right angle. We know a right angle is 90 degrees, so at their intersection, this will be a 90-degree angle. Notice other angles created will also be 90 degrees. Okay? So we have essentially created 4 90-degree angles, 4 right angles with perpendicular lines. Skew lines get a little bit more complicated. Skew lines are something that you may not have thought about before. The easiest way to look at skew lines is to think about maybe a tissue box or a 3-dimensional figure. I'm just going to draw one very quickly. Okay, a skew line, or a set of skew lines, are 2 lines that are not parallel, so they're not in the same plane, but they never intersect. So for example, this line, if we drew this along this edge, and the vertical line, notice they're not on the same plane. They are on different planes, but they're never going to intersect, but they are not parallel. That's the best explanation that I can see with that. If you want to look at a Kleenex box, that'll also be very helpful. Transversal might be something that you've never heard of before. Okay, so what a transversal says, or what a transversal is rather, we have 2 parallel lines. Okay, we know that they're parallel because this is on there, this set of triangles. A transversal is a line that goes right through the middle of these parallel lines. Okay, so this is the transversal. When we look at corresponding angles, okay, we are looking at the exact same picture that we drew for the transversal. So we have 2 lines that are parallel. We have a transversal that is drawn through them. And when we look at corresponding angles, corresponding means they're in the same position. So for example, this angle right here, if we smash these 2 lines together, the angle that it would line up with would be this one. So we know that these 2 angles are going to be equal. We also know from the last lesson that these are vertical angles. So this angle and this angle are also going to be equal. Notice it's just 1 line on these. If we look at the other set of corresponding angles, the ones we have not used yet, here is one set. Notice I'm going to put 2 lines on this because it's not equal to the first one. If we smashed this line and this line together, the corresponding angle, the one in the same position, would be right here. And again, we know from the last lesson that this angle is also equal because they are vertical angles, and this angle is also equal right here. So if we had 2 parallel lines, we cut it by a transversal, and we are told that this angle is 80 degrees. We also know that this one is 80 degrees because it's in the same position. We know by vertical angles that this is 80 degrees. And this one is a vertical angle to the very first one we drew, so it is 80 as well. I hope that this has given you a good visual representation, and I hope that you can find these definitions in your book or online. If you have any questions, please write in the column to the left side that says questions. I will answer them first thing in the morning. And also, if you have questions from Wednesday night's assignment that we covered in Thursday in class, I will also answer those questions at the very start of class tomorrow. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your night.